Hello everybody, welcome back to the newest part of my Europa Universalis IV tutorial series. This is part 5. Welcome back, guys. In the last episode, we have been declared upon by war by Aragon, who attacked our ally. Again, for tutorial purposes, I've skipped this conflict because I want to show you guys how peace mechanics work in this particular episode. We're going to be talking about peace, we're going to be talking about cores, and we're going to be talking about vassalization in this episode. So, in the past 4 or 5 minutes, I've beaten back Aragon. We've lost a little bit of manpower. We've got a lot of war exhaustion, and our navy has seen certainly better days. We've sent quite a few thousand men to the bottom of the Mediterranean Sea to their death, both on our side and on the Tunisian side, but we are ready to make peace. We have a war score of 100% as we have attained complete victory due to the fact that we have, remember, a claim on all of the Grenadine provinces. You guys remember from the last episode where we have claimed and occupied all of these provinces. Well, after a while, it seems that the game just gives you a 100% war score due to the fact that you've completely dominated them. So we're going to go ahead and enter into negotiations. And to do this, all you have to do is press this button down here where your conquest map is. Of course, if you're in multiple wars, there will be multiple coats of arms due to the co-belligerent that you are attacking. Of course, because we are attacking Granada, we see that the coat of arms displays Granada. So we're going to click on this, and then we're going to go up here to the top right of the diplomacy menu, the war diplomacy menu that is, to select the peace deal. So there are 2 different things that we can do normally. If we are losing a conflict, you can always offer tribute to the enemy by giving them some of your provinces, by giving them some money, or just by saying, hey, look, we'll stop being allies with this guy, or hey, we'll give you some money from our trade. We'll even release some nations. Like if we were to release Galicia, for example, if we were losing a very bad war. But due to the fact that we've won the war, you're going to ignore the offer tribute button. And in fact, you only want to offer tribute if you have a war score in the negatives, or sometimes in the low to mid-teens, where you won't be able to offer white peace. So I'm going to describe to you guys what exactly you can do and what you can't do at the peace negotiating table. So unlike other games, say Total War and Civilization do come to mind, as soon as you take a province in Europa Universalis, you are merely only occupying the province. That is to say that if I were to occupy all of Aragon's provinces and take them into the peace deal, I would not be able to take all of Aragon's provinces due to the fact that they are a massive country. And the bigger the countries that you go to war with, and the bigger the countries are that you occupy, the less territories you'll be able to take from them due to the fact that their territories are simply too big for you to incorporate into your country in one go round. Now, that being said, we could, for example, declare war on Portugal and take all of their provinces in 2 to 3 wars, but due to the fact that Portugal is so big, we cannot take it in one conflict. So because Granada was so small, because Granada is 3 provinces big, we can actually take all of their provinces in one peace deal. So we're going to go ahead and do that by selecting all 3 of their provinces that we have occupied. Now, notice that we do have a claim on each of these provinces. Now, this is a good thing because this means that it's going to cost 0 diplomatic points for us to conquer it, meaning that once we make peace with Granada by taking all 3 of their provinces and thus rendering them, out of the game, because once we take their provinces, Granada will cease to exist as an independent nation. It's going to cost us 0 diplomatic score because, again, we have a claim on every single province we were going to take. So I'll give you an example. If we were to declare war on, say, Portugal, you'll notice that we don't have a claim on each one of their provinces. So if we were to declare war and say we want to take Porto would cost a pretty moderate amount of diplomatic points. So again, I recommend that you lay a claim on every province that you want to take before you declare war, so that you do not have to needlessly waste your diplomatic power. So again, Taking these provinces is going to cost us 0 diplomatic score because we have a claim on every single one of their provinces, and it's going to only cost us 34 war score. You'll notice that you can only take provinces if you have a combined war score of greater than 34% for these provinces, but it's additive. So let's say that I wanted to take out some of France provinces. Well, some of the French provinces like Paris, for example, are going to be incredibly high in war score due to the fact that they are very heavily developed provinces. So if I was to be England, and I'll go to the diplomatic map mode so you can see what I'm talking about. If I was to be England and I laid a claim on Paris and I wanted to take it for myself, Paris might cost 80 war score, 80% war score. So again, the smaller countries you can usually annex in one go. The larger countries, you'll have to continuously declare war on them. So that being said, we're going to go ahead and take all 3 of these provinces and this war, but we still have 66% war score remaining that we can utilize to our advantage. So because we do have 100% war score, we're going to go ahead and go over here to the Annul Treaties button. Of course, because we're about to render their country non-independent, we can't exactly annul any treaties, but let's take a look at the treaties menu. We can't force a religion on them, so we're going to go ahead and ask them to cede their provinces to us, but we're also going to demand some money. And to demand money, all you have to do is click on this ducat screen over here, and we're going to go ahead and demand as much money as we can, as I recommend you guys do every single time you're at war. They'll give us 145 ducats, which will be quite a boon to our local economy, which is great. It's the most we can get out of the peace deal, so we're going to hit send demands. But before we do, I'm going to show you guys exactly what this peace will entail for our country. So at the top of, or over here on the left, next to your summary, you can see exactly how much prestige this peace deal will give you, how much diplomatic power the peace deal will require. So for us, it's going to cost 0 because, again, we have a claim on every single one of the provinces that we're taking. It's going to show us aggressive expansion that will incur from us taking these territories. Now, this is an important aspect for me to touch upon that I have not yet touched upon. Aggressive expansion is basically the way that prevents countries from getting too big. Now, in a game like Europa Universalis, I guess there is no goal because it is largely a sandbox-driven game. But if we were to say, want to dominate the world, that is, to conquer the entire known worlds and add them to our country, it's going to piss off quite a bit of people. And this mechanic is represented in-game by the aggressive expansion indicator. So you'll see that this is going to incur 1 to 24 aggressive expansion relations penalty between 44 countries. Now, generally, the countries that are affected are the immediate neighbors. That is to say that the countries that are going to be pissed off that I take Grenada are going to include Morocco, Mazab, Tlemcen, Tunis, Jared, Portugal, Aragon, and basically a whole host of other Western European countries, because maybe they're a bit jealous that I'm taking this territory. Well, it doesn't really matter what the reason is. It's just that the other countries are going to be pissed off at you. And it's not going to be so bad. Again, 10 aggressive expansion is nothing. It's really when you get to like 80 to 90 aggressive expansion that you need to really be looking out for, because I'll show you exactly what this is going to look like after we make peace. But again, aggressive expansion is just an indicator that you need to look out for. And an effective way to reduce your aggressive expansion is actually to declare war on countries that are far away from your current country. That is to say that if we were to declare war on, say, a sub-Saharan African country, I do apologize, you can't exactly see the map, or a North American country or tribe, the aggressive expansion penalties will not expand into Europe. That is to say that if we were to attack somebody in Asia, for example, the aggressive expansion penalty that we incur is not going to affect anybody in Europe. So basically, the further away that you attack and conquer, the less that your your neighbors here in Europe are going to really care about it. They're not going to care if you conquer some colony over in the middle of nowhere, America, South America, or Asia. They're really only going to care if you're taking out their neighbors, as this makes more sense. So that's aggressive expansion. Let's go on to the next indicator, which is overextension. Now, overextension is a bad thing. That is to say that once we take all 3 of these provinces, we are going to experience 27% overextension. Now, normally, any indicator between 0 to 50 overextension is a low overextension. That is to say that it's not going to pose that big of a problem to you. But if you are going to conquer willy-nilly provinces from your rivals and take as much as you can from the pie at the negotiating table, not only will this cost you in diplomatic power. Not only will this cost you in aggressive expansion penalties, but this will also cost you in overextension. Well, what does overextension mean? Let's go ahead and send the demands, make peace, and I'll show you what overextension does. So we've made peace with Granada, which means that we finished the Reconquista, and as you can see, we'll pan out of the map. Granada no longer exists. Castile has absorbed it. But if we were to press the diplomatic mode, you'll see that those recent acquisitions are not cored. We have a claim on them, sure, but we don't have a core on their province. So I'm going to talk about overextension because this is what I was mentioning before I'm talking about cores. So let's go over to stability and expansion shortcut, which is 8 by default on your keyboard. This is where you will find the overextension. Now notice that we have 27% overextension. We're going to hit manage the overextension, by the way. And you'll see that 27% overextension is netting us plus 1.35 national unrest and a whole host of debuffs such as increased mercenary costs, increased stability cost modifiers, decreased diplomatic reputation, and a whole host of other things. Now, to reduce your overextension, it's quite simple. All you need to do is core the territory that you have just taken. Now, remember, if you guys remember from my second and third episode, a core is simply the civil infrastructure that governs a province. So we need now, after we've won the war, to convert our claims into cores. And to convert a claim into a core, it's quite simple. All you have to do is select the province that you wish to core, just like this, and you click on this plus button over here, the Make Core button. It'll cost administrative mana, as I've mentioned in a previous episode. So again, you want to conserve your admin power between technology upgrades, and infrastructural upgrades, but also for taking territory. As to take territory, it will always cost admin power unless if you vassalize a country, which we'll also get into this episode. But for the time being, because we've been at war, because we've taken the provinces forcefully, we are going to core them using admin power. We're going to go ahead and do that right now. You simply click plus and OK, plus and OK. And now all 3 of these provinces are now being cored. So it's going to take them a varying amount of time. I think it's going to take these provinces 17 months to complete, so it's quite a while. And you'll notice that our admin power has been reduced quite a bit as a result of it. Now we can't stop there because even though we are still overextended, that's about to go away due to the fact that our cores are about to be converted, or rather our claims are about to be converted into cores down here in Granada. But the problem is that we have Unrest. And you'll notice that there's a rebel faction over here in the right of our screen, Granadan separatists. And basically what this means is that whenever there is an unrest that is greater than 0% in any of your provinces, you are going to get rebels. And the rebels that we are about to get are nationalist rebels. And to find out which rebels you are going to get, you simply go to the right of the unrest little indicator here, and you click on it, Granadan separatists. So these guys are ethnic Granadans, or rather they're ethnic Andalusians. They are the previous Muslims that lived here, and they're a bit upset about the fact that we are, ruining the day by, being a king that's Catholic. They don't like that. They want their king to be Muslim. So they're going to rise up and revolt if we continue to have unrest in this province. And we are going to have unrest in this province. The ways that you can reduce unrest in your provinces, there's multiple ways, but the easiest way that I'm going to show you guys today is to increase your local autonomy. And to do this, all you have to do is simply select a province and go right next to the autonomy menu and hit plus. And by increasing the autonomy of the province, it's going to decrease the usefulness of, say, how much the province gives you in terms of their manpower, how much you get in taxation. It basically makes them a little bit more independent. They're still underneath your control, but it makes them a bit more independent, and that makes them happy. You'll notice the unrest went from 19.3% to 9.3%. Conversely, if we were to decrease the autonomy, that is to say, increase the centralization of this province, it's going to piss everybody off, which is going to increase the local unrest by plus 10, which would make it 29.3%. We don't want that. So we're just simply going to increase the autonomy of these provinces, which is going to reduce the local unrest. So now that that is out of the way, if we were to unpause the game just like so, you'll see that our cores are already being constructed. And once they are constructed, they are part of our patrimony. And everybody's like, hey, look at that. Spain's got, a hell of a lot more provinces now. They're a lot more strong, but we have yet to make our cores. That is to say, we have yet to administer these territories as our own, because we simply only have a claim on them, and making the core in the abstract is basically just setting up these provinces to be administered directly by the King of Spain. So, now that that is out of the way, and that we've explained everything, we are going to have rebel problems in these provinces, and I can kind of show you guys what that looks like. Of course, if you were to station some of your men on these provinces, it will reduce your local unrest, which is good. And it'll also allow you to, once the rebels kind of pop up, you can beat them back like whack-a-mole. Rebels will pop up variously between, let's say, 7 to 12,000 men, generally speaking. Sometimes they'll be peasants, sometimes they'll be separatists, like they are in this case, and sometimes they'll be religious fanatics, but always, they generally tend to be at your tech level or lower. That is to say, it is usually easy to beat them back if you have an army of equal or greater size, and especially if you have a general. So, we're not going to worry about that right now, because a rebel faction is at 0%. That is to say that they have not had time to really voice their discontent. Once the rebel faction meter over here gets to 100%, we will start to see separatists. But until that happens, you have nothing to worry about. So even if this says rebel faction at 80%, don't worry about it. There's not going to be any rebels that pop up over here. It's only once this hits 100% that rebels will start popping out of provinces that are upset with you. And you'll notice that the rest of my empire, everybody's happy. We got 0 unrest over here and all of our other provinces, which is good. But keep in mind, if we were to increase our overextension by, say, taking all of these Portuguese provinces in a war, I know that that's not possible due to the fact of the war score exceeding the demands, but if we were to take all these provinces, our overextension would be like 300%, and you would start to see incredible amount of rebels in all of your provinces, not even the provinces that hate you, like the provinces that we have just taken in war, but also the provinces over here, like in Leon and all these other guys. You know, you start to see Freticali heretics and kind of like crazy Catholic dudes rising up and trying to reform the church and everything. So again, keep your overextension low. And to keep your overextension low, you just make cores. So we've explained that. That's done. Cool. Another thing when you're in warfare, you will incur something that's called war exhaustion. That is to say that you cannot fight wars indefinitely in this game. Your people are going to hate you. The peasantry is going to rise against you. It's not a good idea to be at war indefinitely. So that being said, there are ways to reduce your war exhaustion when you're in war. One way is to simply hit the reduce war exhaustion button over here in your stability and expansion screen. Again, shortcut of 8. This is where you also manage your overextension and increase your stability. So, you could manually reduce the war exhaustion by spending 75 Diplo. We are not going to do that today because, as you can see, now that we are at peace, our war exhaustion goes down monthly by negative 0.10, which means that basically in, a year or two, our war exhaustion will be 0. So when you're at peace, your war exhaustion goes down manually. There are other ways to reduce your war exhaustion, namely by advisors and by being the defender of the faith. We're not going to get into that because that's another entirely different discussion, but keep in mind that you do have war exhaustion. And generally you'll get this from call to peace, which means that when you are winning the war, when you have more than, say, 60 or 70% war score in a war and your people know that you've won, they don't want to be at war anymore. They just simply want you to make peace. And this is a bit of a glitch in the game because we've already made peace. So if we go ahead and hit spacebar again, the call to peace goes away because we are at peace, and it's going to go down by -10 each turn. So that being said, keep your war exhaustion low. And if you have to, when you're in war, reduce it manually by taking away your Diplo mana. But again, you don't want to really waste your mana because you use this to advance your tech. I'm going to get there in a minute. So, now that's being said, we're coring our territories down here, which is great. And we've got a very friendly Navarra. I said in the previous episode that I'm going to show you guys vassalization, and I meant it. So, as you guys remember from the previous episode, to vassalize a country, you simply need them to be above 190 relationship. You need to have a royal marriage with them if they are a monarchy. And if they're a republic, it doesn't really matter. You need to have above 190 relationship with them. You need to be allies with them. And neither you nor them can be at war. So now that all of these preconditions have been met, we are going to offer them vassalization, which they will accept. So as you can see, Navarra has accepted the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to become our vassal. How great is that? To be the vassal of the King of Spain. Well, that would suck, but they've accepted it. So generally, what I'm going to talk about today is vassals, right? you can expand peacefully in this game. That is to say, you don't always have to piss everybody off by declaring war, fabricating claims, and converting your claims into cores. You can instead expand peacefully by offering vassaldom to very small countries. That is to say, Navarro would accept my vassalization, but somebody like Aragon, it's never going to happen, because as you can see, they're way too big, they got subjects of their own, they hate us, they've got more than 100 total development, and yeah, they don't like us very much. Generally, you'll be able to offer vassaldom to very, very small countries. That is to say, countries that are mainly 1 or 2 provinces. Sometimes you might get lucky. You might be able to offer vassalization to a country that is 3 or 4 provinces, but generally the 3 or 4 provinces country that you are offering vassaldom to are very poor. They're not, very well developed. So in this case, we've offered it to Navarra, who is a relatively poor nation. Again, they have a total development of 7, and it's basically impossible to offer vassaldom to anybody above the development of, say, 50 or 60, and it's outright impossible for anybody above 100. So now that you've well, I'm assuming if you're using this tutorial, now that you've offered a vassaldom to a country that you have more than 190 relationship with, that you have a royal marriage with, and that you're allied to, that you and that you and this ally is both at peace, you can offer vassaldom to them. And a few ways, if you guys want to learn how to increase relations with a country that is just at the cusp of being offered to vassaldom, but say that they're at plus 160, plus 170, you've already improved your relationship with them by 100, and they're still not budging. Well, you could do something like this. You could send them a gift of ducats. Let me go ahead and show you guys what that looks like by skipping ahead a little bit here, so I can go ahead and see my diplomat again. You can send them ducats, which means that you can spend some money to increase your relations. I'm getting them 50 ducats, so increase it by 25. You could also offer them military access, which will increase their relations with you by 10. You could proclaim a guarantee of independence, which we've already done. So all these things will improve your relationship with the country, and once you are ready to seal the deal, simply offer your vassaldom offer. They will accept, and now we have a vassal, which is Navarra. And vassals are great because, unlike allies, vassals will always join in your wars no matter what. They always got your back, right? And they're also paying you 50% of their total income each month, which means that we're about to get a hell of a lot richer. In fact, if you map or you mouse over your trusty treasury over here, you can see that our vassal Navarra is paying us 0.49 ducats per month, which is awesome. That's really, really good. But this is not a one-way street. You need to be careful and maintain your relations with vassals, because vassals can rebel against you if they perceive you to be weak, or that is to say, if they are far away and they have the support of other countries to back their independence. To see how your vassals think of you, simply open the shortcuts menu over here by pressing the comma button. You can see Navarro over here. We have a relation of plus 200% with them, which means that they have a liberty desire of 0%. Keep an eye on your liberty desire of your vassals. This is incredibly important because you want your vassals to be happy. So in the next episode, guys, stay tuned. We're going to show you guys how to peacefully incorporate vassals into your territory. That is to say that after 10 years of peace and vassaldom, you can offer to integrate your vassal directly into your country, meaning that they, instead of becoming rather retaining their independence, just give me the core of their territory. They lose independence, and the province of Nafarroa becomes Castilian. So I'm going to show you guys how to do this in the next episode, but keep in mind that vassals are great. It's always fun to have them, but keep an eye on their liberty desire, because if it goes high enough, they'll outright declare independence against you, and if it's above 50%, they will never send you money or even join you in your conflicts. But anything above or below 50% is great. They'll always join in your conflicts. Below 50%, they'll always give you money, and they're just really, just servile in nature. If they're below 50%, it's really between 50 to 100%. You gotta be careful. So, guys, I hope you learned something. Stay tuned for the next episode, where we're going to talk a little bit more about vassal mechanics, incorporating vassals into the country, and I'm also going to talk to you guys about upgrading your technology. So again, guys, thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next part 5. See you guys on the next episode.